I miss the NFL, and I'm not talking about the garbage that we have seen on the field the past 12, 13 weeks. Although I will say, I thought the NFL was great this past week. The early slate of games on NFL Red Zone, I thought they were good. Late afternoon games, I thought they were good too. But it wasn't all that long ago when we could expect to see that level of play in the NFL for 17, 18 consecutive weeks. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had to wait until November, December to see elite quality of play in the NFL. The current product is watered down, it's stale. There's really no other way to say it. You know, most Sundays I'm only watching the NFL out of habit. Most Sundays I am only watching the NFL because that's what I've done every Sunday afternoon from September to December my entire life. But there's just no other way to say it. The NFL has gotten boring, and it's only a matter of time before it starts affecting their ratings. Well, KC, that's not true. The NFL is still a huge draw. They're averaging 17 to 20 million viewers every week. Yeah. For now, I have been complaining about the quality of play in the NFL for the past couple of years, but this year there seems to be a consensus. It appears that I am not the only one who thinks the NFL's gotten boring. Not only has it gotten boring, the NFL has gotten overly soft. When you think about it, life is all about taking risk. Every morning when you wake up and you get in your car to drive to work, you're taking a risk. Every time I upload a video here on YouTube where I'm talking about something controversial, something that could potentially offend the lonely male wanker spankers like Keith Olbermann, Keithy Poo! Every time I do that, I'm taking a risk. Most people know TJ Lavin as the longtime host of The Challenge on MTV, but for decades, TJ Lavin was a professional BMX rider. He was one of those dudes who rode bikes and did all kinds of dangerous shit. TJ Lavin literally made his living by taking risks. He made his living taking risks that most people are not willing to take. 15 years ago, TJ Lavin, he was involved in a serious accident while he was performing at an event in Las Vegas. Dude damn near lost his life. He was doing what BMX bikers do. He was riding fast up one of the hills or whatever the fuck. Once he got in mid-air where I would assume he was planning on doing a trick, he loses control of his bike, rapidly falling 40 or 50 feet, where he properly introduced his face to the ground. TJ Lavin sustained numerous injuries, concussions, brain trauma. The dude was in a coma for days, maybe even weeks. His rehab lasted for months. Had to be taught how to walk, had to be taught how to read. Basically, when he woke up from his coma, he was like an infant. He had to learn everything over again. The comeback of TJ Lavin, it is an inspirational story. But when he recovered fully from his injury, he didn't become some advocate for regulating BMX. He didn't come out of his coma and say, "Hey kids, riding bikes is dangerous. You could get hurt. Uncle TJ suggests you find a safer hobby like watching TV. Just be sure to wear your helmet for maximum protection." TJ Lavin didn't become some preacher against danger or taking risk. When he started his career in BMX, he knew of the risk going into it. He knew it was dangerous. He knew he could have an accident. He knew he was putting his life at risk every time he got on his bike. The media, they didn't start some crusade against BMX. The media didn't start some concussion scandal demanding that organizers who put on these events focus on biker safety. Ooh, safety. Outside of the myth of media-created racism, or as I like to call it, mythical racism, outside of that myth, safety is the biggest myth. There is no such thing as safe. Every time you walk out your front door, your life is at risk. But after TJ Lavin's accident, there was no fake outrage from the mainstream media. The media, they weren't demanding that BMX events be canceled or more heavily regulated. So let me ask you something. How come every NFL season the media is pressuring the league to make football safer? How come every time there is a big hit in the NFL, the media blames the league and demands that more regulation be implemented to make the game safer? Better question is, why does the NFL keep bending the knee? Why does Roger Goodell keep folding to media pressure and damn near regulating football out of football? If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. This morning on the second channel, we talked about another product that has gotten stale and boring, the NBA. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description and subscribe to the second channel. Sunday afternoon in the game between the Texans and the Jaguars, Texans defender Azeez Al-Shaair, he landed a brutal hit on Trevor Lawrence. Now, I'll try and show you the clip. Hopefully the NFL doesn't hit me with some draconian copyright claim over using the clip and promoting their league. Now, I know the clip here is in slow motion, but you got to remember, this was a bang-bang play. Azeez Al-Shaair is making a decision based on instinct in less than a second. Now, at the same time, Trevor Lawrence, he is making a decision to get every yard he can before he slides to the ground to avoid being hit. Now, in the modern NFL, quarterbacks tend to take advantage of this rule to be protected. They know if they slide to the ground, nothing bad can happen to me. This is my safe space. Unfortunately for Trevor Lawrence, it was not his safe space. He got blasted by Azeez Al-Shaair. He ended up with a concussion. Naturally, his teammates came to his defense. Players from both sides started pushing and shoving. It's what you would expect to see in the NFL in a situation like this. 10, 15 years ago, this would have been a non-issue. It just would have been another Sunday. Coaches and officials would separate the players. Azeez Al-Shaair, he would be penalized for unnecessary roughness. Maybe he gets thrown out of the game. Maybe. But more than likely, Texans get a 15-yard penalty. Game moves on. Today, not only does Azeez Al-Shaair get ejected from the game, Roger Goodell, he suspends him for 3 more games without pay. Why? I guarantee you, this suspension has to do with the overreaction in the mainstream media, and the NFL once again trying to placate the media. The media criticism of Azeez Al-Shaair, it has been brutal, but it's strange. Very few media outlets expressing their fake outrage, very few of them mentioned that Azeez Al-Shaair was wearing cleats on Sunday afternoon that said Free Palestine. For some reason, some of these media outlets, they conveniently left out that detail. I wonder why. Frank Schwab at Yahoo Sports, he claimed that what Azeez Al-Shaair did to Trevor Lawrence on Sunday, that was the equivalent to what Myles Garrett did to Mason Rudolph back in 2019. Now, for those who don't know, Myles Garrett, he tried to hit Mason Rudolph in the face with his helmet. Now, the law would classify that as assault with a deadly weapon. So, someone please explain to me how Azeez Al-Shaair being unnecessarily rough with Trevor Lawrence is the equivalent to Myles Garrett trying to hit Mason Rudolph in the face with his damn helmet. That is the overreaction that I'm talking about in the media. Now, bring this up for a reason. I have been thinking about this a lot over the last few days. I briefly mentioned this Sunday on the second channel, but I think one of the reasons that the NFL has gotten stale, it's because the league is trying to regulate the football out of football. The league is trying to regulate the violence out of a violent sport. Compared to the 90s and 2000s, the NFL that we see today, it's might as well be flag football. Quarterbacks are not allowed to be hit. Routine tackles are considered unnecessary roughness. A month or so ago, I can't remember which game this was from or what network it was on, but there was a brutal hit that caused an injury to someone's leg. The network, they refused to show the replay. Why? Oh, we don't want to offend you. We want to protect you from seeing this brutal violence. What the hell's going on here? How can you suspend Azeez Al-Shaair for 3 games for what used to be a 15-yard penalty? It's not like Trevor Lawrence was out of bounds. It's not like he was already on the ground and Azeez Al-Shaair hauled ass to give him an extra hit. He was going for the hit. Trevor Lawrence decided to slide. It was a routine play? An accident? I think part of the reason that the NFL's gotten stale, they are trying to please everyone. And when you're trying to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. They are trying to please the media by regulating the violence out of the game. They're trying to please the fans by adding these regulations while not watering down the product. What's the end result? Everyone is pissed off. No one is happy. There are still hard hits every week. There's still concussions every week. And the product is as stale and boring as I remember. Look, we are past the point of pleading ignorance when it comes to head injuries. We are past the point of pleading ignorance when it comes to concussions and the potential for CTE. We are at the point now where if you're playing in the NFL, you're accepting the risk that come along with it. If I wreck my 4Runner, I can't sue Toyota. If I walk in the woods with a raw wiener around my neck, I can't sue Oscar Mayer when Mama Bear attacks me. We are past the point where the NFL should be held liable. We're also past the point where the NFL should be overregulating. If you sign that contract to play in the NFL, you're accepting the risk that comes with it. If you get concussed, if you get a head injury, that is the risk that you agreed to take when you took that millions of dollars. If they're not careful, if they keep acquiescing to media demands, we're going to get to the point where the mainstream media, they are going to want the NFL to regulate tackling out of football. I'm telling you, it's coming. 10 years ago, there were some in the media who wanted the NFL to be shut down. Roger Goodell's got a decision to make. Are you going to continue trying to please the media, or are you going to please your fan base? Because you can't do both. Right now, you're trying to do both, and your product on the field is suffering. But give me your thoughts on this. NFL suspends Azeez Al-Shaair 3 games without pay for what we used to call a hard hit. Has overreaction and overregulation watered down the NFL product? Is Roger Goodell trying to serve 2 masters? Maybe you don't think the NFL is boring. Maybe you listen to Mina Kimes and think the NFL is great. If so, tell me why, because I don't see it. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. See you guys tomorrow.